Hello and welcome back to the David67 Celtic News YouTube channel. Today's video going to be a wee quick roundup of news on the Celtic players who have been away on international duty. Most of them, their international duty is over. For a few of them, they still have a few games, such as the Japanese pair and also Yang from South Korea. However, all their games should be over by Tuesday evening, Wednesday morning, and all of them should be back in Glasgow for Thursday in preparation for the game against Hearts on Saturday. Main bit of news to update on is Kasper Schmeichel played for Denmark in their two-legged place against Portugal. They won their first leg 1-0, however, lost the second leg 5-2 after extra time. And so Denmark will be in Scotland's group for the upcoming World Cup qualifiers. However, the big bit of news was late in the game, Kasper Schmeichel suffered a left shoulder injury. Rather frustratingly, Diogo Jota was through on goal. He was clearly offside. However, under the new way that referees and assistant referees are deciding on offside, Diogo Jota was allowed to carry on, and Kasper Schmeichel injured himself diving to get the ball. He did carry on playing for the rest of the game, making a very good save. And then straight after the game, one was taken to hospital in Portugal. His initial x-rays are all clear, which is good news. However, he is being flown to Denmark in a sling for his left arm and will be having a scan later on Monday for his shoulder. And after that, we'll know just how long he's going to be out for, or if there's any possibility, which I think is slim, that he'll be fit for the game against Hearts on Saturday. The x-ray being all clear is mostly good news. That rules out a dislocated shoulder, rules out a fractured collarbone, rules out a significant acromioclavicular injury in the shoulder area. However, there could well be damage to ligaments and capsules and other internal structures of the shoulder, and that could keep him out for a few days. It could keep him out for a few weeks, and potentially, if there was significant ligament or tendon damage in that area, might even keep him out for the rest of the season. So obviously, everyone is on tenterhooks for the scan, which hopefully should be announced later today on Monday or early on Tuesday. And as soon as I get any news, I'll do some form of update. Celtic had 10 other players on international duty. As I said earlier on, for most of them, international duty is now over. Anthony Ralston had games for Scotland at right back against Greece in the 1-0 win last Thursday, in which he did play actually very, very well and was a key part of Scotland's good defence and ability to get forward. However, he was rather poor in yesterday's humiliating 3-0 home defeat by Greece of Scotland. Ralston looked a bit lethargic, defence poorly organised, which was partly down to him, more so down to the two centre-backs, and both Ralston and pretty much all the Scotland players were very much off form yesterday. Idah sat out the 2-1 win over Bulgaria last Thursday. However, he did come on to play against Bulgaria in the return game on Sunday and scored the winning goal, and was giving praise to Brendan Rodgers for keeping his career going. And I do think that Idah could well score us quite a few important goals over the course of the rest of this season. And it's good to see him scoring at an international level, and also good to see him showing lots of confidence. Our two Japanese players, Maeda and Hatate, unfortunately sat on the bench and watched their team winning their game last Thursday 2-0 over Bahrain. They have another game on Tuesday early on against Saudi Arabia. Hopefully, one or both will get some game time, as it is rather frustrating for our players to fly to the Far East and the Middle East simply to sit on the bench and then come back with a bit of jet lag and travel fatigue, which limits them in the following Scottish domestic fixture. Yang of South Korea did come on as a late sub around about the 85th minute in South Korea's 1-1 draw with Oman. At the same time, our ex-player O also came on at that same time, and the South Korean manager was very, very critical of his starting players for the Oman match, and so Yang might well get a starting position for their next game also on Tuesday. Both Cameron Carter-Vickers and Alistair Johnston were back in America for the finals of the CONCACAF playoffs. Alistair Johnston played for Canada in their defeat by Mexico, and Johnston was thought to be at fault for several defensive mistakes in that match. However, Johnston had a much, much better match in Canada's 2-1 win over America in the third-fourth playoff on Sunday. Cameron Carter-Vickers sat out the first American match where they lost to Panama, and he did play the full 90 minutes of their defeat to Canada in the third-fourth playoff. And from watching the highlights, it did look like Cameron Carter-Vickers actually was partly at fault for both of Canada's two goals. He appeared a wee bit slow and lethargic and let his player go on both occasions. There were other defensive mix-ups and mistakes critical for both goals. However, it would be fair to say that Cameron Carter-Vickers had a rather poor match for America, although correspondingly Alistair Johnston had a very good defensive performance, also getting himself forward and also launched a couple of brilliant long throws into the box, and it would be interesting to see Alistair Johnston doing that for Celtic from time to time. Viljami Sinisalo sat on the bench for Finland's match last week, and it would be expected he'll be on the bench again for their next match, which is today, Monday, against Lithuania. And so that means he should be back at training ground for Tuesday or Wednesday, giving him plenty of time to get himself ready for Saturday's match against Hearts, if, as expected, Kasper Schmeichel is missing for a game or two. There was good news for a couple of our under-21 players, Colby Donovan and Jude Bonner. Bonner came on as a substitute in their game against Ireland under-21s and scored the second of Scotland's two goals in a 2-0 win. And Colby Donovan played from the start for Scotland in defence and apparently had a good game. And they have another game tomorrow, this time against Iceland. And hopefully both get starts this time and continue their good progress. And we may well see them in the matchday squads and maybe getting some game time later in the season if Celtic do manage to clinch the Scottish Premiership title nice and early. Also worthwhile updating on three of our players who are currently away on loan, all of whom had international games over recent times. Luis Palma played and scored in Honduras' 5-3 win away at Bermuda and will likely be starting the next match in the return fixture against Bermuda, which is on Wednesday. Gustav Lagerbielke was an unused substitute for Sweden in their 1-0 loss to Luxembourg in a friendly, and it would be expected Lagerbielke might well get some game time in tomorrow's match between Sweden and Northern Ireland. Finally, of the Celtic players off on loan who played international games over the last few days, Marco Tilio, our Australian right and left winger, who is currently on loan back with Melbourne in Australia, was an unused sub for Australia in their 5-1 win over Indonesia. Australia did suffer quite a number of injuries in that game, and it's expected that Marco Tilio might well start the game against China on the 25th. And there's also some speculation that Australia may play him through the middle as a second striker, or may play him in one of his conventional positions of right or left wing. I do think that Marco Tilio is a player who has an awful lot of ability. Sadly, in terms of his time at Celtic, it's been plagued by injuries, and he's only had 2 brief substitute appearances. So it will be interesting to see if Marco Tilio does get some game time against China on the 25th. Hopefully he can finish off his season-long loan with Melbourne back in Australia, then be fit and fresh and confident and in form for joining Celtic in the summer again for pre-season training and the pre-season friendlies in preparation for the 25-26 season. No other significant news at the time of recording early on Monday afternoon. No further progress on Celtic bringing in any other players, no changes in the Greg Taylor contract situation, and no other news of any Celtic players being injured yet on international duty apart from Kasper Schmeichel. And as I said earlier on, we're awaiting as we speak to see what Kasper Schmeichel's MRI scan of his left shoulder shows, to know if he'll be out for the game against Hearts on Saturday, or whether he might be out in the longer term. Hopefully the scan shows nothing of significance apart from maybe a bit of bruising, and we can get him back in the team in a game or two's time. That just about finishes things off for today. Just a wee polite suggestion, encouragement. If you're not yet subscribed to the channel, please do click that subscriber button. The numbers pushed over 1,200, which was good news overnight. If you have liked the video or liked the channel, please do click that like button. There's a few new player appreciation tribute videos for Celtic greats of the 90s, Pierre van Hooijdonk, Andreas Thom, and the newest one on Georgie Cadetti. Do suggest to have a wee look at those, and do feel free to pop your own thoughts into the comment section on any current Celtic issues or in relation to your own assessment of the players who've been away on international duty. And so until the next video, a goodbye and hail hail.